So there are required people to be at the IEP team meeting, the Individualized Education Program meeting. And we all know that the most important members of the team are the parents or the guardians or the person who's responsible for taking care of the child. But the other member we want to talk about is the special education teacher.
That's right. The statute says that not less than one special education teacher, or where appropriate, not less than one special education provider of such child must be at the IEP team meeting.
Jen, would you please simplify that for me?
Okay. So obviously when an IEP team is meeting, they're meeting to develop the special education program for the student. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that it'd be a good idea to have a special educator there, right?
Absolutely.
So Congress says, no, you have to have a special educator there. It either has to be a special education teacher of the child or a special education service provider of the child.
Well, that's where it gets a little tricky to interpret.
It does.
What does that mean?
You know, it depends who you ask.
Okay, well, what do you think?
In general, the practice seems to be that it could be a speech pathologist, some kind of a related service provider of the child, although the way it's defined is it's someone who's responsible for implementing the IEP. But theoretically, an administrator is responsible for implementing the IEP too, and so is the Board of Education. So
right.
I think I think the point of having someone there is someone who's actually working on special education services with the child, with this child about whom we're discussing the IEP. So many of these things are arguable, and as our system of government works, it's not always an easy answer. We get new language in a statute every several years, and one lawyer looks at it this way and another lawyer looks at it this way, and then that's what we do is we argue it out, and then eventually sometimes we get a decision from a court on high that tells us who's right. But we don't usually get a lot of Supreme Court decisions in special education. They come not as frequently as they come in other areas of the law. So we rely more often on where you live in this country in terms of your circuit's rule, what federal circuit you're in.
So let's say that you want your special education teacher to be there. Can you make that request to the team?
I certainly believe you can. And what you should do is before the meeting, if you get the notice of the meeting and the written notice of your child's IEP meeting, and if that person is not listed as having been invited to the meeting, or if you know from experience that even though they're always invited, they never attend, then you want to make sure you make a request, preferably in writing, that you want that special education teacher there. In my practice and what I see on a day-to-day, this is one required member that usually is there.
Right. Excellent.